almost there one night when that moon is big and bright. It's a supernatural delight. Everybody's dancing in the moonlight, dancing in the moonlight. Everybody's feeling warm and bright. It's such a fine natural sight. Everybody's dancing in the moonlight, dancing in the moonlight. Everybody's feeling warm and bright. It's such a fine natural sight. Everybody's dancing in the moonlight. Dancing in the moonlight. Everybody's out of sight. They don't bark and they don't bite. They keep things loose, they keep them tight. Everybody was dancing in the moonlight, dancing in the moonlight. Everybody's feeling warm and bright. It's such a fine natural sight. Everybody's dancing in the moonlight. Dancing in the moonlight, dancing in the moonlight. Everybody's feeling warm and bright. It's such a fine natural sight. Everybody's dancing in the moonlight.
There's a boy I know, he's the one I dream of. Looks into my eyes, take me to the clouds above. Oh, I lose control, can't seem to get enough. When I wake from dreaming, tell me, is it really love? How will I know? Don't trust your feelings. How will I know? How will I know? Love can be deceiving. How will I know? How will I know if he really loves me? I say a prayer with every heartbeat. I fall in love whenever we meet. I'm asking you 'cause you know about these things. How will I know? How will I know? Oh, wake me. I'm shaking. I wish I had you near me now. Said there's no mistaking what I feel is really love. Tell me, how will I know? Don't trust your feelings. How will I know? How will I know? Love can be deceiving. How will I know? How will I know if he really loves me? I say a prayer with every heartbeat. I fall in love whenever we meet. I'm asking you 'cause you know about these things. How will I know? How will I know? How will I know? How will I know? If he loves me,
On the fence, along the side. The spirit born around the world. Fire from your hands. Hold me closer, time to dance. Count the headlights on the highway. Lay down, she's already.
I like to dance and it looks like this. I like to dance and it looks like this. I like to pop and lock and hit you with a little bit of robot. Gotta hit it, get it, love it, live it, get a little silly with the lyrical ridiculousness. I like to shake a leg. I like to nod my head. I like to walk into a party with a pirouette. A little move goes a long way, like a soul train line in the hallway. It's your way, my way, all day. My kind of magic is automatic. I feel like dancing. I feel like dancing. Even if it's raining, I'm not complaining. I feel like dancing. 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 Every time I feel myself getting frantic, maybe too much coffee did it. I bump up the music, bump up the click. I pick up the speed till I'm deep in it. Then I give it a half tip, and just like magic, I feel like I'm back and that my body's electric. I'm feeling elastic and super fantastic and flipping like I know gymnastics. I like to shake a leg. I like to nod my head. I like to make a snow angel while lying in my bed. But don't give me no smooth talk unless you got a good moonwalk. And smile with your hips, smile with your hips, smile with your hips. My kind of magic is automatic. I feel like dancing. I feel like dancing. Even if it's raining, I'm not complaining. I feel like dancing. 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 it looks like this.
I like to dance and it looks like
Yeah,
this.
looking good. We like to dance and it looks like this. Come on. Smile with your hips, smile with your hips, smile with your hips. My kind of magic is automatic. I feel like dancing. I feel like dancing. Even if it's raining, I'm not complaining. I feel like dancing. 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 We 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 feel like dancing.
When I move my body just like this, I don't know why, but I feel like
Freedom.
I hear a song that takes me back, and I let go with so much
Freedom.
I won't get what I'm gonna get, 'cause it's my
Freedom.
Before you talk, you speak in my language. The way that you walk, you can't contain it. Is it the shoes? Jump the kangaroo. We're overdue for a little more presence. Now it's your time.
It's your right.
You can shine.
It's alright.
If you do, I'ma do too. When I move my body just like this, I don't know why, but I feel like
Freedom.
I hear a song that takes me back, and I let go with so much
Freedom.
I won't get what I'm gonna get, 'cause it's my
Freedom.
If someone's around, let him know. You can't stand still. This ain't no drill. More than cheap thrills.
Like money, 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 money.
Now it's your time.
It's your right.
You can shine.
It's alright.
If you do, I'ma do too. When I look up to the stars,
I know exactly who we are.
you're shining, you're shining.
Everybody come around, everybody come on, everybody else.
To the dance floor with the whole team, with the whole team.
Let me see you wild.
Dance floor with the whole team, with the whole team.
Let me see you shake.
Dance floor, giving you the whole shit. I'ma give you the whole shit.
Let me see you
Dance
wild.
floor with the whole team, with the whole team.
Can you make it break?
Yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Let me see you wild.
You do, I'ma do too. When I move my body just like this, I don't know why, but I feel like
Freedom.
I hear a song that takes me back, and I let go with so much
Freedom.
I won't get what I'm gonna get, 'cause it's my
Freedom.
Sheesh.
Girl, I'm about to have a panic attack. I did the work, it didn't work. That truth, it hurts. God damn, it hurts. That lovey-dovey shit was not a fan of it. I'm good with my friends. I don't want a man, girl. I'm in my bed. I'm way too fine to be here alone. On the other hand, I know my worth. And now he calling me. Why do I feel like this? What's happened to me? Oh, oh, oh. Am I ready? Oh, ain't a doubt. Am I ready? What you talking about? Am I ready? You gon' figure it out. To be loved, to be loved. Am I ready? You deserve it now. Am I ready? That's what I'm talking about. Am I ready? You gon' figure it out. To be loved, to be loved. How am I supposed to love somebody else when I don't like myself? stand up with the fantasy. What you wanna do? Think I'm ready? Ooh, think you like that? Think you like that? When I clap back like that, let me know. What you talking about? Figure it out. To be loved, to be loved. You deserve it now. That's what I'm talking about. You figure it out. To be loved, to be loved. Yesterday I was happy, alright, and I don't know why. I don't know why. No, yesterday I was happy, alright, and I don't know why. I don't know why, but I'm ready.
Dreaming like a vision from the old west, waiting like a bright new dream that I was stepping in. I saw your face and I knew it was a sign, and I still think about that moment all of the time. You know that I can never make this up. I found the reason I'm not giving it up. I felt the fever, and I knew it was mine. Oh, I'm gonna love you for a long time. And in the morning when I'm waking, I swear you're the first thing that I'm thinking of. I feel it in my body, know it in my mind. Oh, I'm gonna love you for a long time. I'm gonna love you for a long time. I'm gonna love you for a long time. Oh, I never knew, yeah, you took me by surprise. While I was getting lost so deep inside your diamond eyes. So many things that I still wanna say, and if devotion is a river, then I'm floating away. And in the morning when you pick me up, and all the world is quiet till the morning dew, I feel it in my body, know it in my mind. Oh, I'm gonna love you for a long time. I'm gonna love you for a long time. I'm gonna love you for a long time. Oh, don't slow down now. Come and break me down. Keep your hands in my neck. Keep your mouth on my mouth. Don't slow this down. Never let me go. Baby, don't you wanna see how far this thing can go? And in the morning when you wake me up, I know that forever can never be enough. I feel it in my body, know it in my mind. Oh, I'm gonna love you for a long time. I'm gonna love you for a long time. I'm gonna love you for a long time. For a long time. Oh, I'm gonna love you for a long time. Oh, I'm gonna love you for a long time. Yeah, I'm gonna love you for a long time. Won't you keep letting me love you for a long time? For a long, 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 long time. I'm gonna love you for a long time.
For the broken people, put your hands up high. If you lift them up, you might just touch the sky. All the lonely people, put your hands up high. If you loosen up, you might just learn to fly. All the highs and the lows and the way it all goes, you can't let them keep you down. If you're lost, if you're broke, if you're stuck on the road, you can turn it all around. Cause we gotta trust in love. something that can't be touched, a feeling to lift us up, all in the name of love. All the broken people, put your hands up high. If you lift them up, you might just touch the sky. All the lonely people, put your hands up high. If you loosen up, you might just learn to fly. Learn to fly. Learn to fly. Learn to fly. Learn to fly.
Sometimes it gets difficult when everything's the same. Toss and turn, push and pull, you don't know who to blame. There is always something to hold on to in your life. Just keep that head up, don't you worry, it will be alright.
All the broken people, put your hands up high. If you lift them up, you might just touch the sky. All the lonely people, put your hands up high. If you loosen up, you might just learn to fly. All the broken people, put your hands up high. If you lift them up, you might just touch the sky. You might just touch all the lonely people, put your hands up. All the lonely people, put your hands. If you loosen up, you might just learn. If you loosen up, you might just learn to fly. Learn to fly. Learn to
I had a dream that someday I would just fly away. And I always knew I couldn't stay. So I had a dream that I'd just fly away. I've been on my own for a minute. Is it only me out there? Searching for the place to begin it. Is it me? Is it you? Is it fear? Standing on the line I was given. People stare and ask me why I'm here. No one seems to think that I fit in. But I don't wanna be like them. No, 'cause I don't wanna be like them. 'Cause I know that I had a dream that someday I would just fly away. And I always knew I couldn't stay. So I had a dream that I'd just fly away. No one knew how low I was feeling. I was scared to reach for it all. Knowing I was here for a reason. But I was scared that if I tried, I'd fall. So where do I go now that I'm in it? I never thought it'd be like this. Dreaming all my life and I did it. Thought the grass was greener than it is. 'Cause I had a dream that someday I would just fly away. And I always knew I couldn't stay. So I had a dream that I'd just fly away. Cause I had a dream that someday I would just fly away. And I always knew I couldn't stay. So I had a dream that I'd just fly away.
I've been dreaming friendly faces. I've got so much time to kill. Just imagine people laughing. I know someday we will. And even if it's far away, get me through another day. Cover me in sunshine, shower me with good times. Tell me that the world's been spinning since the beginning, and everything will be alright. Cover me in sunshine. From a distance, all these mountains are just some tiny hill. Wildflower, they keep living high. Oh, they're just there and still. I've been missing yesterday, but what if there's a better place? Cover me in sunshine, shower me with good times. Tell me that the world's been spinning since the beginning, and everything will be alright. Cover me in sunshine, shower me with good times. Tell me that the world's been spinning since the beginning, and everything will be alright. Cover me in sunshine. La 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 la. Cover me in sunshine, shower me with good times. Tell me that the world's been spinning since the beginning, and everything will be alright. Cover me in sunshine.
My house in Budapest, my hidden treasure chest, golden grand piano, my beauty focused EOU. Ooh, ooh, I leave it all. My acres of land, I've achieved. It may be hard for you to stop and believe, but for you, ooh, I leave it all. Ooh, for you, ooh, I leave it all. Give me one good reason why I should never make a change. Baby, if you owe me, then all of this will go away. My many artifacts, the list goes on. If you just say the words, I'll up and run onto you. Ooh, I leave it all. Over you. Ooh, I leave it all. Give me one good reason why I should never make a change. Baby, if you owe me, then all of this will go away. Give me one good reason why I should never make a change. Baby, if you owe me, then all of this will go away. My friends and family, they don't understand. They fear they'll lose so much if you take my hand, but for you, ooh, I lose it all. Ooh, for you, ooh, I lose it all. Give me one good reason why I should never make a change. Baby, if you owe me, then all of this will go away. Give reason why I should never make a change. Baby, if you owe me, then all of this will go away. My house in Budapest, my hidden treasure chest, golden grand piano, my beautiful Castillo, you, I'd leave it all. Oh, for you, I'd leave it all.
Sat on my window, and they told me I don't need to worry. Summer came like cinnamon, so sweet. Little girls double dutch on the concrete. Maybe sometimes we got it wrong, but it's alright. The more things seem to change, the more they stay the same. Don't you hesitate, girl, put your records on. Tell me your favorite song. You go ahead with your head down. So far faded jeans, I hope you get your dreams. Just go ahead with your head down. You're gonna find yourself somewhere. Blue as the sky, sunburned and lonely, sipping tea in the bar by the roadside. Just relax. Don't you let those other boys fool you. Gotta love that an afro hairdo. Maybe sometime we feel afraid, but it's alright. More you stay the same. More that you seem to change. Don't you think it's strange? Girl, put your records on. Tell me your favorite song. You go ahead, let your head down. Sunflower faded jeans. I hope you get your dreams. Just go ahead, let your head down. You're gonna find yourself somewhere. Just more than I could take. Pity for pity's sake. Some nights kept me awake. I thought that I was stronger. When you're gonna realize that you don't even have to try any longer. Do what you want to. Girl, put your records on. Tell me your favorite song. Yes,
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
If we could invite you to take your seats, our program will begin shortly. What a wonderful buzz in the room. We're going to bring our special guests up onto the stage. So we'll invite our ambassador, our mayor, and minister to join us on the stage. Not at all.
Good evening, everyone. Bonjour to Le Monde. My name is Sonia Shori, and I have the privilege of serving as the Vice President of Strategy, Marketing, and Communications for Invest Ottawa, lead economic development agency here in Canada's capital. It's a pleasure to welcome you all to Game Changers, North American women founders shaping the sports industry. We're delighted to join our friends and partners at the U.S. Embassy here in Ottawa and the Ottawa Board of Trade to host this free hybrid bilateral event this evening. Tonight, we are uniting visionary founders, thought leaders, and trailblazers from the United States and Canada who are redefining the sports sector. And we're delighted to have women athletes, entrepreneurs, business owners, allies, champions, and partners from our region through Canada and the US join us here in person at your Innovation Hub and online.
Hello, everyone. Bonsoir. My name is Su-Ling Ching. It is my honor to be the president and CEO of the Ottawa Board of Trade. We are the voice of business and key economic partner in our nation's capital. Our mission is to cultivate a thriving, world-class business community, one that drives inclusive and sustainable city building. It is to that end that we are so pleased to be here to co-host Game Changers. So thank you all for being here tonight. On a personal note, I believe that our greatest challenges as a global community can be addressed by first elevating women. So I'm especially pleased to be here with all of you tonight in our Innovation Hub to celebrate the achievements of women, sports founders, and leaders as a collaborative bilateral community. We're excited to serve as your co-MCs for this special event tonight.
And before we begin, I would like to acknowledge that the land on which we gather together and virtually is the traditional unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe people. We are very grateful to have the opportunity to be present in this territory and come together as a bilateral community. Further, I want to respect and affirm the inherent treaty rights of all Indigenous peoples across this land. We recognize the contribution of the Métis, Inuit, and all Indigenous peoples have and continue to make to our country and our community as a whole. We are also sending light, love, and peace to the people of Israel, the residents of Gaza, and all loved ones, friends, and family across Canada and around the world impacted by the devastating terrorism and violence against innocent civilians. As emphasized by our Prime Minister yesterday, we stand firmly with the Israeli and Palestinian peoples in their right to live in peace, security, with dignity, and without fear. We are keeping all those impacted by this tragic event in Gaza in our hearts and praying for swift resolution, peace, and healing for the people of this region.
Thank you, Sonia. We would also like to extend sincere thanks to His Excellency David Cohen, Ambassador of the U.S. to Canada, and all our valued partners at the U.S. Embassy here in Ottawa. Thank you for your leadership in joining us this evening. Let me take a moment to share a little background on the lead up to this very special initiative. Our event has been funded with a grant from the State Department's Economic Bureau under the Providing Opportunities for Women's Economic Rise, or POWER initiative. The overarching goal is to advance women's economic empowerment by strengthening professional networks, improving our business environment, and fostering investments to support women's economic participation. This advances the goals put forward by the Biden-Trudeau roadmap for a renewed partnership to build back better. On behalf of our community, I would like to extend special thanks to the Embassy's Economic Bureau and Public Diplomacy section for preparing a successful joint grant proposal for a program that informs, inspires, and connects women in the sports industry. We are very honored to be a part of it.
And it has truly been a privilege to collaborate with our U.S. partners, neighbors, and friends on this and so many other bilateral initiatives, including those that span back to International Women's Month. And of course, many valued collaborators across our local and national community. This includes the City of Ottawa, the Province of Ontario, the Government of Canada, including FedDev Ontario, Global Affairs Canada, Transport Canada, and D&D. I would like to extend a very warm welcome to His Worship Mayor Mark Sutcliffe and co-chair of IO, and the Honourable Carla Qualtrough, Canada's Minister of Sport and Physical Activity. Thank you both for your leadership and for taking time to be with us. I also want to thank the many founders, investors, and community partners like the Ottawa Board of Trade, Acobia, so many champions and allies that we are privileged to collaborate with on these shared goals. Tonight and so many other initiatives we undertake enable us to come together as a unified community to drive progress on those very objectives. And I'm personally very, very excited about this event as it builds on our refreshed 5-year strategic plan established together with our community, and that addresses many shared diversity, equity, and inclusion goals, and our Women Founders and Owners strategy, which I'm privileged to help lead with a subcommittee of our board, together with our venture development team. And I see Nick Quain, our venture VP, here with us tonight. Our team has had the honor of collaborating with so many current and aspiring founders, business owners, and partners as we strive to enable and accelerate the growth and commercial success of women founders and entrepreneurs from every single walk of life. And as a global tech and business hub with the highest concentration of tech talent in North America, this work spans many technology and innovation sectors, our thriving Main Street businesses, and tonight we will learn about the sports sector. We are going to celebrate innovative pioneers spearheading transformative sports products, strategies, businesses, and companies making substantive strides in a global industry that is valued at more than US $487 billion in 2022 and projected to exceed $623 billion in 2027, according to Statistica.
The Ottawa Board of Trade recognizes diversity in sports and entertainment as a key driver for economic growth and community health. On the heels of a pandemic that disproportionately impacted women from every background and walk of life, and in a year where women are breaking through and dominating non-traditional sectors, there has never been a more important time to address this opportunity in the sports industry. So without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce His Excellency David Cohen, Ambassador of the U.S. to Canada, for opening remarks.
So thanks very much. Welcome, everyone. Before I begin tonight, I want to acknowledge the situation in Israel by echoing what Secretary of State Antony Blinken has already expressed. The United States stands in solidarity with the government and people of Israel and mourns the loss of every innocent life of every faith and every nationality who have been killed. This is one of the most difficult situations that I've seen in my life and in my career. And I wish I could tell you that I thought it would be over tomorrow, but it's not going to be. And I think we have to pause, even as we celebrate some of the successes we're going to celebrate tonight, to understand what's going on right now in the Mideast. But to everyone here tonight, good evening and welcome. I want to thank Minister Qualtrough for lending her support tonight. I've had the privilege of meeting with her in a prior position, which also represented a passion of mine, working with people with disabilities. And now that she's in her new ministry, she's really worked her way into one of my great passions, which is sport. I'm going to keep following you around. That's the, but it's fantastic to see her again. I also want to thank Invest Ottawa and the Ottawa Board of Trade for their partnership in making this evening happen. And finally, I'm delighted to see the exceptional lineup of women business leaders from Canada and the United States, whom we will hear from tonight. In particular, I want to call out Diana Matheson and my friend Jana Hefford, who I haven't seen in a while, but I've had the chance to work with for many years on the subject of gender equity in sport and women's rights to participate fully in the opportunities that sports provide. So it's a real privilege for me to be here on multiple levels. I'm a longtime passionate supporter and advocate of women's sports and of women in business. Tonight, I get a bifecta. I get to combine the two and talk about women in sports and business. During my time here in Canada as ambassador, I try to spend as much time as possible talking to people in every part of this wonderfully large and diverse country. Everywhere I go, from coast to coast to coast, I always make a point of meeting with local business women. I am proud that I have made sure that women are invited to be a part of every table where I host or participate, even if the women are not traditionally included in those discussions. My passion and commitment are not just because U.S. foreign policy directs me to do so, although it is true that empowering women is one of the pillars of the roadmap that Sulin referenced. The roadmap directs our governments to embrace women's full and equal participation in the economy by supporting women entrepreneurs, pay equity, and childcare policies. And I'll note, and no one's contradicted me, although I've said this a lot of times, I'm not aware of any two countries in the world that have made diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility a stated pillar of governmental policy for the national governments across the board. I frequently say that my passion for gender equity is not just because it's the right thing to do, although it is. In fact, the data is clear. Women continue to face discrimination in the form of unequal pay, difficulty accessing capital, and underrepresentation in corporate C-suites. Women continue to face systemic barriers such as access to child care and elder care that male business people traditionally do not have to confront. And companies and organizations that embrace gender equity consistently perform better financially and organizationally than companies that have a lesser level of women participation in the C-suite and in management positions. And that's the most compelling reason I have for working to support women in business and in sports for over 2 decades. Gender equity just makes sense for the bottom line. If you're looking for innovation, if you're looking for new ideas, if you're looking for fresh leadership to drive growth, then you need to look to women. My experience from my time as the first chief diversity officer at Comcast NBC Universal has always been that hiring and promoting women leads to results. The women we promoted into senior leadership positions provided high rates of performance for the company. Today's event is a fantastic example of this phenomenon. Some people may think that the sports business, valued at $487 billion US last year, is mature with limited growth potential. If so, they probably weren't paying attention to the Women's World Cup this year, which enjoyed about double the global viewing audience of the previous tournament. And maybe they aren't aware of the WNBA playoffs, which last year had a 22% increase in viewership. 3 years ago, the Angel City FC ownership group paid $2 million US for its National Women's Soccer League franchise in Los Angeles, California. 3 years later, this April, a private equity firm announced that it would pay $53 million US for an expansion franchise just a short distance north in the San Francisco Bay Area. Any business person would love to see this type of return. And they probably have not been paying attention to the fight being led by the players to create a viable professional women's ice hockey league, a dream that finally became a reality this year with an inaugural season starting in January with teams in Ottawa, Montreal, Toronto, Boston, Minneapolis, St. Paul, and New York. And that's a project that I've been working with Jane on for literally 4 or 5 years. There are people who doubted the capacity. I emphasize this was done by the women. This is not done by business icons and graduates of business schools. This was done by the women hockey players while they were playing, by the way, at world-class level, winning Olympic gold medals. In their spare time, they devoted their passion to fighting for a league which has finally come to a reality. Mayor, The mayor and Jana were talking about this before, and she said, we've got to get you out to some games. I'm definitely coming to some games. So Mayor, let's both of us make sure we get to some games and cheer these women on, because they've done their job. Now it is our job to make that league a success and to make sure that they accomplish their objectives. So we're in an exciting moment when women are shaping the sports business in North America and helping to drive forward our economic recovery on both sides of the border. By the way, look at that league. I mean, you want to talk about Canada-US cooperation. This league is all Canada, all United States, and another example of the cooperation between our two countries. So I look forward to hearing the discussion tonight. We've got great, knowledgeable people, and I hope we all leave here tonight inspired and committed to ensuring that women in sports and women in business are a success. So thanks very much and enjoy the event.
Thank you so much for those inspirational words, Ambassador, and for your strong leadership and commitment to our goals, for inviting so many of us to your table. You truly have been a leader in this area, and we are all about inspiration and actionable insight this evening. It is now my great honor to introduce the Honorable Carla Qualtrough, Minister of Sport and Physical Activity and MP for Delta.
Thank you so much. What an honor to be here today. I'd like to begin by acknowledging we are gathered on the traditional unceded territory of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe people. We thank them for their graciousness in letting us to learn and live and play on their territory. I am super excited to be here with you all tonight. As many of you know, I come from a background in sport. Sport is my language, and sports people are my people. I am also legally blind. I have a disability. And I came up through sport at a time where inclusion wasn't really a thing. And I often wasn't included in sport and didn't get to play in a way that I wanted to play or my parents wanted me to play. And it was at a time in my life where things could have gone particularly awry had I not found the world of Paralympic sport. A system of sport where the playing field is leveled for people with disabilities and athletic and sporting excellence prevails without the barriers, without the assumptions, without the challenges that people with disabilities often face in being included in mainstream sport. Now, that was many, many, many years ago. Yesterday was my birthday. So I can actually tell you that it was many years ago, but I enjoyed much success in swimming as a Paralympic swimmer, and I saw the world. I traveled around the world. I competed at the games in Barcelona, in Korea. I competed at World Championships, and I fell in love with the idea that we could build systems that were inclusive by design. I fell in love with the idea that we could actually create systems that included everyone from the beginning, that we didn't have to accommodate as an afterthought, where people with disabilities were equal and women were equal. I just, what if we did this in education? What if we did this in transportation? What if we did this in just as a way that we looked at the world, if we looked at our systems inclusively from the beginning? And what if we really did this in sport? And I decided that I was going to give back to sport because of what sport had given to me at a time when I really needed someone to notice me as a kid with a disability. And I have spent the last 30 years trying really, really hard to promote inclusion in sport, to make sure there were equal opportunities for everybody at every level, at every table. And now kind of coming back to sport as sport minister at a time where the sports system is under great scrutiny and trust in sport has been shaken. And we have to acknowledge that we haven't protected our kids through the sports system in the way that we should have. And athlete survivors have boldly come out and shared their stories and taught us what we need to do in sport. And I am very committed in their honor to changing our sports system for the better so that our kids can be safe and our girls can flourish in sport. So it's an exciting time, but we have to take this seriously because there's a lot going on. And I think to be honest, is Canada and the world needs sport more than ever right now. And I actually think that it is going to be women and women leaders that are going to pave the way. I think this has been a renaissance period for women's sport, for women leadership in sport. And I think the confidence that we need to rebuild in our sport system is going to be built by Canadians and Americans watching women in sport flourish, watching businesses owned by women, sport businesses owned by women flourish, watching leagues be born as we watch. It's just such an exciting time to watch what's going on in the sport world and how it is being led and driven by passionate, competent, confident women. So I'm just excited to be here. Thank you all very much for having me, and I look forward to the discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister, for those remarks and for being a confident, passionate woman.
Stubborn, I forgot to say
Oh, and stubborn. It's a pleasure to really have you here with us tonight, and it is now my pleasure to invite His Worship Mayor Mark Sutcliffe to the podium to bring greetings from the city.
Thank you, Suling. Bonsoir tout le monde. C'est non seulement un plaisir, c'est un honneur d'être ici ce soir au nom de la ville d'Ottawa et de mes collègues du conseil municipal. So first of all, it's great to be introduced by two of my friends and two great women in leadership in our city, Sonia and Suling. Thank you. And always a pleasure to see my friend David Cohen, who's such a great leader in our community. Not, he's the ambassador from the United States, but I think he's now an Ottawa guy, so we're delighted that you're here and such an integral part of our community, David, and looking forward to going to some women's hockey games with you, and maybe down the road there'll even be a team in Philadelphia where you come from, which would be great. And Minister, great to have you here, and thank you for being such an amazing role model and trailblazer and leader. It's such an inspiring story, and thank you, again, thank you for being here and for everything you've done. Really amazing. But of course, I'm most excited about having a couple of sports heroes with us here today. I was really thrilled that Jana and Diana were going to be here for this event, and just before, first of all, I still get chills thinking about the goal in 2012, Diana, the great moment in Canadian sports. And Jana and I were speaking just before the program began. My kids are super excited about this new professional women's hockey league. And that says something. So I have a 14-year-old son who is really into sports, and I have a 12-year-old daughter who is not really into watching sports, but is really excited about the fact that women will be playing professional hockey in our city. And they're both really looking forward to it. My son just asked me yesterday, what's the name of the new team going to be? Are there any more players that have been added to the team? So it's very exciting, and it feels like it's really different this time. So like David, I'm very interested in the two topics that are being discussed tonight, business and sports. And as an entrepreneur and a sports fan, these are two of my favorite subjects, but I'm not going to speak as an entrepreneur or as a sports fan or even as mayor tonight. I want to speak as a dad. And I want to talk a little bit about my daughter in particular. My wife and I have 3 kids, and 2 of them are girls, and our youngest is 12 years old. And 10 years ago, when she was 2, I wrote a column about her in the Ottawa Citizen about how she was going to be a CEO one day because she was already running our lives. And she had all the characteristics of a successful entrepreneur. She was stubborn. She took charge. She set goals. She knew what she wanted, and she would not back down. And I can tell you, 10 years later, none of that has changed. It's only gotten worse for her parents. But I don't want to do anything to stop that from happening for her in the future. I want to encourage that trait in her. I want her to continue to fight for what she wants. I want her to see opportunities in the world. She is the most competitive person I've ever met in my life, even more competitive than me, which is saying a lot. And she's a competitive gymnast, and who knows where that's going to take her. But she is learning so many incredible lessons from sports, and lessons that apply to business and to life and to so many other things. So when I heard about this event, and when I see opportunities for women in business, and when I see opportunities for women in sport, it is her that I think of, my daughter Kate, and all the other young women out there. And when you see the level of excitement about the WNBA or women's professional hockey or other great events that have happened in sports, our national women's soccer team and their success of late, it really proves once and for all how when women are given an opportunity, when women are given the spotlight, when women are given profile, when women are given resources, they flourish and everybody wants to watch them succeed. And that applies to sports and it applies to business. And so this is a very exciting time for both sports and business, and for women in leadership roles, and for women who are competitive, and women who want to go far. And yet, in spite of that, we still have many milestones to reach. Still a very small percentage of small businesses in Canada and here in Ottawa are owned by women. Still a very small percentage of leaders in major corporations and board members are women. That has to change, and we have to keep making it happen. Some of the people who are changing that are right here in the room with us today, and you're going to be hearing from them tonight. And I applaud you for everything you're doing. Thank you for breaking down those barriers. Thank you for being pioneers and trailblazers. And I'm really proud of the work that Invest Ottawa is doing. And as the mayor, I get to be the co-chair of Invest Ottawa, and there's some amazing work to support women in business right here in our city. And so, with partners like the minister and the ambassador, with partners like different levels of government, with leadership from Invest Ottawa and the Board of Trade and so many other organizations in our city, we have a real opportunity now for women in business and women in sport. And with a new hockey team coming to our city, we have an opportunity to inspire another generation of young women, and also to show young men like my son that sports is not just all about boys and men. Sports, professional sports, is not just all about boys and men, and that there are amazing girls and women who are athletes and CEOs and board members and leaders in our community, on the field, on the ice, and throughout our city. So this is very exciting. Great to see the partnership between Canada and the US. I always say when Canada and the United States are successful, then Ottawa is successful. So we're always happy to work with the ambassador and his team on events like this. So once again, thank you all for being here and participating in this event. This is really a good thing for our city, and I'm really excited to see where this goes. Thank you all. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you so much, Mayor Sutcliffe, for being such a champion, an ally, and a partner. We're so honored to have you as our co-chair and as our mayor. You highlighted the role that men play in terms of being champions, role models, and allies. We can't emphasize enough that we will not move this dial if we are not all working together. So thank you to every man in this room that's watching online that is supporting women founders, entrepreneurs, and leaders, not just in sport, but across our community. I would like to now thank all of our distinguished leaders for taking the time to join us on our stage. Please join me in a round of applause as we move to our fireside chat with Minister Qualtrough and Diana Matheson, Olympian, co-founder, and CEO of Project 8 Sports. And of course, Mayor, when your daughter is ready to start her entrepreneurial career, you send her here. Nick and his team are ready to welcome her. Oh. So I get this incredible privilege of moderating our opening fireside chat with two incredible leaders who have a very long list of accomplishments. Minister Qualtrough, you have won 3 Paralympics and 4 World Championship medals. You volunteer locally, nationally, and internationally, including the International Paralympic Committee for the Toronto 2015 Pan and Pan American Games. This summer, you returned as the Minister of Sport and Physical Activity at a very challenging time. I know that you are incredibly passionate about driving culture change in sport and for the ability for sports and physical activity to change lives. Could you share with us a little bit about why you are so passionate about this and why it's so important to you?
Oh my goodness. Well, because is the honest answer. But for me and for most of us in this room, we know the power of sport to create positive change. Like we know the potential that lies in a sport experience to reshape how someone sees themselves, how others see them. It's an opportunity to challenge assumptions, to challenge ourselves, to dig deep and do more than we maybe thought we were possibly able to do. I think sport is an international language. I think the sport system in Canada should look like Canada, and I think it doesn't all the time. And I think we have an obligation, if we want to really maximize the potential of sport, to use sport to address broader social challenges that we're facing as a country, because sport is a massively powerful unifier. It's a common way of looking at the world. Then we have to make sure that those opportunities are available to everyone. And so I really think that while we've made some advancements, we are not there yet, and we haven't actually maximized the potential of sport to break down barriers, to challenge assumptions, to dispel myths, and to really just, use it to build the communities that I think we possibly can in this country.
I love that, building communities, and it really sort of dovetails into my next question. You came back as the Minister of Sport following all kinds of incredible achievements in your previous ministerial roles. How would you describe the culture of sport today and your vision for a truly inclusive and equitable sports industry going forward?
Well, a lot of work has been done within the sport system in the past couple of years. A lot of difficult conversations have been had. A lot of bad things have been uncovered. But I also think the sport community is at a place now where we're willing to do the hard work necessary to make sure that our systems are safe and inclusive and welcoming for everyone. And there's a lot of hard work to be done. But I think it's definitely worth it. And I think that everything, the magic, the power, the positivity of sport is worth it. And I actually think Canada needs sport. Like I said in my opening remarks, more now than ever. Times are tough. And, people want to know that they can send their kids to the rink, to the soccer field safely, and they're going to have a positive, welcoming experience. Every single one of them, whatever, whoever they are and whatever they look like and whatever their background is, that's kind of bringing the values of Canada to the playing field.
You delivered such an incredibly powerful speech at the Hockey Canada Beyond the Boards. I really enjoyed reading it, and so I can't wait to hear more of your perspectives.
I really gave them the gears.
You really did, and I thought it was so courageous and so brave, and I loved reading it because we need more brave people. We need more brave leaders who are willing to talk openly and transparently as you did. So thank you very much for being that role model for us. We're going to move to Diana. You are incredibly well known as an accomplished athlete. I read all up about you as well. Recognized around the world for scoring the goal that won Canada the bronze medal in the 2012 London Olympic Games. You've won 206 caps for Canada, including 193 starts from 2003 to 2020. And now you have founded and launched Project 8 Sports, the first professional women's soccer league in Canada. Could you share some of your highlights of your journey as both an award-winning athlete and why it was so important for you to launch this league, a growing sports business?
Ooh, that was a big question.
We believe in big here.
Why it was so important to launch the league, I think much like Jaina, part of it was we just wanted jobs for ourselves in Canada. in soccer, the pathway is very much, we grow up playing soccer here. We have one of the biggest player pools in the world for girls and women. And then we graduate high school, and then there's either huge drop off, or if you really want to compete at the highest level, usually you go down through the NCAA. So we leave the country, and then after university, we go play abroad. So I played in Norway for several years, and then I played the rest of my career in the US. And then you finally retire decades later, and I think, okay, now I can come home and live in Canada and be around my family and build a life here. And then you look around and there's still no jobs. So a lot of my generation then went and became a GM of the Portland Thorns, or coached in Denmark, or coached in Mexico. And I knew when I retired, I wanted to stay involved in building the pro game somehow. So my journey was to go back to school, learn as much as I can, talk to as many people as possible in Canada. And then just in doing that, got a really clear idea of how we could build in Canada in our very unique sport and soccer market, and the opportunity in the timing of the market right now and entering the market right now, and that we have to get in relatively quick or we're going to miss the incredible growth going on internationally right now. And in a sector we're internationally incredible at, and that's women's sport. And I also found pretty quickly that no one else was working on anything. So it was a matter of, why not us? And let's make some jobs for ourselves.
Leadership, driving forward on that vision. And I would love to hear your perspective about how you think this league will fulfill your vision for women in the sports industry and really drive the change that you aspire to see in this industry, in this country.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an incredible, the minister kind of referenced it. I think it's going to be incredible next 5 to 10 years of sport in Canada. We're going to see the birth of women's pro sport. And then it's only going up from here. And in Canada, we like to be, quite humble. But again, we're world class at women's sport, and women's sport is a relatively new industry. And we're getting in the market and we're competing. There's going to be the best hockey league in the world in North America. Soccer's coming in Canada. We're a little late to the party. The women's pro leagues in soccer have been around a while. In the Women's World Cup, there was only 2 countries that didn't have a women's pro league at this summer, and it was us and Haiti. So we're getting in to compete too, but we can see what the other leagues have done. We're going the slower route, where we're not building off the back of the really deep pockets of men's football, because we didn't really have that option in Canada. We're going the independent route. So it might be a bit of a tougher road, but that means we get to control our own destiny and build in Canada and bring in investment where in the revenue streams that are available in Canada. And our target is to be a top 5 league in the world in women's soccer. And we think that's possible in this country.
I love it. Bold vision and bringing all of that competitiveness that you bring to your sport to your business, which I love. And Minister, of course, you're an accomplished athlete yourself. I would love to hear a little bit about your personal journey as a woman in sports, some of the challenges you experienced along the way and how you overcame them.
Well, thank you. Yeah, for me, as I said in my opening remarks, I was born legally blind. I have a disability. Sometimes it's invisible, and then I'll fall down a flight of stairs, and everybody will go, wow, she really can't see. But when you have a disability, you walk into any room, and as soon as people find out that you can't see, that you're in a wheelchair, that you can't hear, people make assumptions about what you can and cannot do. Like, they've already decided what you can and cannot do before they even get a chance to know you. So that's the place kind of you start from. A lot of us start from. And I actually think that's applicable for a lot of women as well. And I would say particularly women of color. There's all these assumptions, and it's really frustrating. The barriers I faced, whether they be in school, at university, I went to law school, really reminded me of the need for deliberate, kind of intentional policies and systems that were, really strongly grounded in human rights. And so, I studied human rights law, I practiced human rights law, and I actually think that's what we need in the sport system now, is to put a human rights lens on what is going on in sport. Because quite frankly, the issues we're facing, pay equity, trans inclusion, homophobia, these are all human rights issues. And we don't often talk about human rights, sport, through kind of a human rights language. And I think we would benefit greatly from doing so. I also think the ambassador is bang on when you talk about kind of the business case and talking about the business case for inclusion or for broadening, setting the table in a way that it welcomes everyone. It's the right thing to do. The law tells us it's the right thing to do, but it makes a ton of sense. Like we are not going to succeed in any endeavor if we leave 50% of us behind.
And of course, research shows the more diverse a business, the more competitive, the more profitable, the more productive,
Absolutely.
And successful, frankly. So it's not just the right thing to do. It is definitely the right thing for business. Diana, you're driving change in the sports industry and creating so many new opportunities for women athletes, founders, and business leaders coming up behind you. Could you share some of the pivotal learnings that you've had along the way, how they're shaping your leadership as a co-founder and CEO of this new soccer league?
Ooh, good question.
I know.
I think, well, there's definitely been a few. I think one of the ones, and your comments just made me think of this. I took 2 school programs. One, I took an MBA through the Smith School of Business, which I had. The Smith School of Business has a partnership with Canadian Olympic Committee and Game Plan and Deloitte, where a couple athletes a year actually get scholarships to MBA programs or different business certificates. So another great thing sport brings is access to opportunities. So sport got me in the door to the NBA. I also did a soccer-specific program, UEFA, which is the European soccer governing body. It's like FIFA and the IOC have the most sport power in the world. Right after that is UEFA. And they have something called UEFA Academy that has different learning programs. And I took a UEFA Master for International Players, which was kind of a transition program they made up for former men's players, but women are getting into the program more and more now. And they had a couple nuggets from that class. I think it was about the second or third session in. They had a guy who wrote the book Soccernomics, and he was talking about the economics of world football. And there was a nugget in his book that 70% of men's football clubs the world round lose money year over year. And for me, that was when the penny dropped. And I said, excuse me, you told women's sport we're not allowed to lose any money year over year. That's not what I was told all along. And I feel like that kind of rephrased things for me a little bit, in which, sports is a tough cash flow business revenue driver year over year, but that's not where the value in the investment in is. And in women's sport, it is exactly the same as in men's sport. And the ambassador referenced it. Owners in the NWSL bought their franchises in 2012 for $150,000. They're now, on average, valued at $66 million. And really, they only started putting in money into that league about 5 years ago. And that's the argument. You buy a franchise in Canada for women's pro soccer for $1 million, and in 10 years, it's worth $40, $50 million. And it's exactly the same for women and for men, even though, the culture in our society and the myths and biases, as we know, negatively impacted investment in women's sport. And it was always very culturally acceptable to say, people don't watch women's sport. Women's sport doesn't make money. And we grew up in that. And we saw world-class women's athletes preparing day to day better than the Toronto Maple Leafs or the Blue Jays. Like, fact, our staff and our preparation was better. They were doing stuff in like 2020 we did in 2012. Like, catch up, guys. But if you didn't see us train every day, and the thing wasn't on TV, and if it was, the production wasn't there and it didn't look as good, then people weren't willing to spend as much money on it. That was a long-winded answer to give you one example. And then the other one was, we had the guy in who redesigned the Champions League format for UEFA. And he gave a great talk on competition design. And he said, there is no one way to design a competition. There's no one way to design a league. You have to look at the market realities in your market and find what fits. And that was obviously super relevant to Canada, a big country with many challenges, but many strengths for us to draw on here. So that was a real key one for me. And it meant, media rights drives most of the football industry. The EPL is the best league in the world because they pay like 3 times the rights as other European leagues. We don't have a media rights market in Canada. We have a duopoly and a public broadcaster, and they're not paying rights for anything. So not a revenue stream for us. Men's transfer fees drive a lot of club businesses. They sell players. That's what drives their business. We don't have that yet in women's soccer, but 5-10 years we will. but we still have ownership investment, and we still have corporate sponsorship, and we still have ticket sales. So those are really the three key revenue drivers that'll be driving the league in Canada. So I think those were two big ones for me.
Did I mention we have bold visionary founders here this evening and leaders that are driving real change? That does deserve applause. And the same way there's no one way to establish a league, there's also no single path to establishing a successful business. And I can't wait for the next panel because it will complement everything you have just heard on women that are really achieving great success in this industry. So on that note of courageous conversation, over the last few months, you have both been engaged in important open public discussions on gender equity in sports, including pay equity for professional women athletes here in Canada and more broadly around the world. What are some of the most important steps you think we have taken on this front, and what more do we need to do to help generations to come? That's a big question, I know.
You want me to say that? Or
Yeah,
take
you
that one?
go ahead.
Okay, I think I have taken the lens on this one of there's a big pay equity issue going on in women's soccer. Specifically, it's very much driven by FIFA and very unequal prize money amounts, and that trickles down. And that and Canada Soccer's financial troubles are kind of at the heart of our pay dispute in Canada. I have very much taken the approach of not trying to fix Canada Soccer and step away and try and make this impact outside of that. So I think much like hockey, the impact we're making is to build a sustainable business that can create the jobs in the first place, which is key, and then we can tie revenue growth to player salary growth. So that's our approach. And I know for hockey, a key aspect was have a CBA right from the beginning. So I think that's the way the two pro sports have approached it.
So basically show them how it's done.
Yeah.
From us, from the Government of Canada's point of view, a couple of key initiatives are ongoing where we are working to both remove existing barriers. So basically get the things out of the way that are impeding inclusion for women and girls in sport, but also to do kind of proactive initiatives that will create opportunities for women and girls in sport. So we set a target of gender equity in the Canadian sport system at all levels by 2035. And we're somewhat criticized for that felt like a long way away. But if you really want to achieve kind of the cultural and I'd say almost generational change that kind of a commitment requires, that's how long it takes, because there's a lot of work to be done in this space. So we're investing very strategically in paying salaries for women leaders, so female coaches, female CEOs. Like we are, I would say unapologetically, focusing on addressing the inequities that exist kind of in leadership in sport in Canada, in coaching in sport in Canada, and in creating the opportunities by addressing the barriers that women and girls face to participation from the grassroots all the way up to national team levels. Now, I have boldly decided to take on the plight of Canada Soccer. Good on me. Thank you. It's because I wasn't tired in August when I made the commitment. But there's a lot going on in that space, and there's a lot of challenges within the sports system of people are clinging very tightly to the way things have always been done. People are clinging very tightly to their conflicts and their power. And I would say that while that is happening, there's also a lot of interesting developments in the space. And it takes a leader who's prepared to say, we will not give you your funding unless you get your shit together. We will not tolerate this kind of behavior happening in our sports system. And I think that's starting to happen. I think, the Beyond the Board Summit was a really good example of that, where people are now saying, this is what's actually happening behind the scenes in our locker rooms. This is like calling out the kind of the toxicity, the culture. And it's actually building a confidence in the system for people to know that there'll be a place for them in the future where this doesn't happen.
And I'll add context to that too. I think it's important to know from the global lens that I'm complaining about Canada Soccer. Canada Soccer is not special in the sense that is most soccer organizations, and there's
That's most sports.
and it's most sports, and it's global, but the way we're addressing it, I think now has the opportunity to shift. I think global sports are going through a reckoning, and I think we have the opportunity in the next few years to set an example.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm so incredibly grateful that you are both in the leadership roles that you are in to drive this change. You are truly fearless leaders, and it's been an absolute privilege to facilitate this discussion. As we conclude, I would love for you each to share one key takeaway about how we can collectively, as a community, gather here tonight, and a national and a bilateral community, really help you to drive that change and create a more thriving, competitive, equitable sports and sports industry for women.
Well, for me, it would be very intentional. Make the space for women. Make the opportunities for women. They say in politics that you have to approach a woman 7 times before she will run. And man, it is totally worth that effort, because that's how we make change happen.
Hear, hear.
I'll just do a pitch for the Women's Pro League here. We still need to sell a team in Ottawa. So
we have one in Vancouver.
if you
We have
guys
one in
know
Vancouver.
anyone, I'll give you the bare bones franchise fee, $1 million. You're gonna need an ownership group then can invest about $10 million into the team over 5 years total. So what's that, like 0.01% of the Sens, basically? So let me know if I should be talking to anyone in your town. Thanks.
I love it. Please give them a round of applause. Just an incredible discussion. Thank you so much,
Thank you so
Diana
much.
Minister.
Thank you all. Thank you. Can I give you this? Give this too.
Am I on? Yes. Wow, was that a terrific conversation? Yeah, it's a terrific conversation. And to have both of you leading from different aspects of the industry, it's really feels like there's a hope for change despite our history. So thank you so much for that open and honest conversation. We are now going to move to our panel discussion, and I would like to invite all of our speakers to join us on stage and via hop-in platform. So warm welcome to Isabel, Jana, Jenny, and Shannon as they join Sonia and Diana on stage. There we go.
We'll give everyone a moment to get gathered, and big warm welcome anywhere you like. Welcome, Jenny, who joins us
Thank you.
from Portland. Hello, hello. We can't wait to welcome you to Ottawa. We really, really want to have you here as our special guest very soon. We'll get everyone equipped with mics, and we'll be sharing a little bit. We're going to pass one down to my friend Isabel. There we go. All right, we are about to have an incredible dialogue with these amazing leaders, founders of sports businesses. I am so privileged to be with so many friends and colleagues that I've had the pleasure of working with in different ways. As we begin our panel discussion, I would love for each of you to introduce yourselves and your companies, briefly describe your business and the unique value you are bringing to the sports sector. And I'm actually going to start with Jenny, who's joining us from Portland via Hopin.
Hello, my name is Jenny Wynn. I'm the founder and owner of the Sports Bra here in Portland, Oregon. We are the world's first sports bar dedicated to showing women's sports. And I think that what we were looking to offer at the beginning was just a place for people to come and gather and celebrate and watch women's sports. But clearly it's become a lot more than that. So I feel like it's kind of started a whole conversation around kind of a fandom and spectatorship around women's sports that I think is necessary in order to drive revenue, investment, and all of those things.
I really enjoyed reading up on your business and know that you were thinking that your business might not even last more than a few months, and generated, just so you all know, $1 million, I think, in 8 months. Just
That's about right.
Thank you so much for joining us. Isabel.
Hi, and I've got the light. I'm going to try to
we'll nestle in together.
Hi, everyone. I mean, if you're the result of who you spend time with, I mean, I'm winning. This is great. I'm just happy to be here. My company is called Differly. And I launched it specifically. It was I've been in and around the sports industry for many years, and the idea came to me actually when I was working at the Ottawa Senators for a lot of years. But it was I really wanted to help organizations, and in particular the sports market, to be able to innovate sustainably and reliably over the years. So I really saw the immense pace of change that was happening for all industries, but sports and entertainment in particular. Of course, technology driven, but the big impact is more, this is not stopping. This is not going away. The pace of change is only increasing. And so how do we help those companies and organizations to sustainably innovate? And so I developed a system called Innovation as a Service to help those organizations do just that.
Excellent. We're thrilled to have you with us, a proud member of our Ottawa community. Thank you so much. Jane, I almost feel like you don't even need an introduction given some of the incredible dialogue we've had about your work, but I would love for you to introduce yourself and share the exciting news about the league.
Well, I'm thrilled to be here tonight with everyone, and especially folks on this panel. It's a big honor. And so I'm Jana Hefford, a former hockey player with the Canadian national team. I had a 17-year career with Team Canada. And coming out of that, I had the opportunity to step in very briefly into the Canadian Women's Hockey League before that league folded, and which ended up turning into the Professional Women's Hockey Players Association when I happened to meet the ambassador in some of our work we were doing. And when we talk about two countries coming together, it was the Canadian and the American women who got together and really started to put this dream into motion and into action. And so we spent the last 4 years with a vision, defining what our aspirations were, building a business plan, how we were going to get there, and have recently, as we mentioned tonight, launched the Professional Women's Hockey League, which will start play in January, and we're thrilled to have a team here in Ottawa. So I think the unique opportunity is, thank you. The unique opportunity is, for us, the first really truly professional women's hockey league. We've had a few leagues, and we like to consider them professional when they have the best players, but this is entirely different scale. So we are going to create dreams for many young girls, and we are going to influence generations to come of young girls and young boys, because as we talk about leaders in business, I know when my 8-year-old son thinks female hockey players are amazing, female soccer players are amazing, he's not going to look twice when he walks in a boardroom and sees a room full of women. So society's changing with sport, and I know soccer's alongside with us, so we're really excited for what's to come.
We're so inspired, and we are so thrilled that we have a franchise here in Ottawa. I can't wait. As the daughter of a hockey man, I have no athletic ability, which is the true irony of me moderating this panel, but we are so thrilled and can't wait to support your business. And we've also collaborated very closely. I have known Shannon for years. Shannon was one of our founders that participated in She Boot, which is an investment readiness boot camp for tech women founders, co-founded by Invest Ottawa and the Capital Angel Network. She was our first crowd favorite winner, so we are thrilled to have her. Shannon, I would love it if you would introduce yourself.
Thank you so much. I'm Shannon Ferguson, the co-founder and CEO of FanSaves, right here in Ottawa. Super proud to be part of Invest Ottawa in this community. And basically, FanSaves was created back in 2017 when my co-founder Chris and we were managing 2 minor professional hockey teams at the same time, doing all the marketing, sponsorship, sales. And when we were out selling sponsorship in the local communities, business owners kept saying they wanted more than just a scoreboard ad or a rink board or a coupon in the back of the game day program. Businesses kept asking, did we have something digital? Did we have something that would actually drive fans through their doors, and while they were there, actually track their data? So we didn't have anything like that. We couldn't find anything like that in the market, and we essentially just created a solution to our own problem, and that's how FanSaves was born. And now we're working with more than 83 professional sports teams in 23 different leagues across North America. And we have over 1,300 brands offering discounts and deals. And most recently, we completed a successful pilot with NASCAR. So we're really proud of our accomplishments and being a local company.
We are so thrilled to have you in our community serving as a role model. Diana, I know that we just spent a good half hour together, but I would love it if you would share something about Project 8 Sports that perhaps you didn't have a chance to share in our opening fireside chat.
Oh, let's see. Project 8 Sports was founded the summer of last year. I met my business partner through our MBA program. So we were in the same group of 7 through a 16-month program. So I got to know him really well and indoctrinated him into the world of women's sports throughout a year. And then I knew I needed someone to build the business with, being, a league being quite an expansive thing, and sent him a voice note one day, effectively offering him a job, I guess. And then that's how Project 8 got started. I've also had the pleasure, unrelated to Project 8, of visiting the Sports Bra, and both great drinks and great food. So make sure you stop by Portland.
I'm telling you, great leaders, great women, great women. My goodness. We just concluded a fireside chat where we talked about there is no one straightforward path to becoming a successful founder, growing a successful business. I would love to hear about some of your journeys as women entrepreneurs in the sports sector. Every single one of these leaders is also an athlete, from boxing to basketball to hockey to soccer. I mean, it is so inspirational that you've taken that competitive passion for sports and translated that into business. I don't know who would like to jump in and share a little bit about your personal journey, but I think it would be very inspirational for our audience.
Okay, I'll jump in. I think the entrepreneurial spirit starts as an athlete, and certainly as a female athlete. And as an Olympic athlete in our country, you weren't making a lot of money to do that. You had to find other ways to support yourself, especially if you wanted to keep competing for a number of years. So I think for me, that started very early because I knew I wanted to keep playing hockey. There was nowhere to play other than for the national team, and every 4 years, and a world championships once a year. So I had to find other ways to make it all work. So while going to school, finding ways to become a speaker, find ways to create sponsorships, find ways to create youth clinics and different things you do in the summer. So I think that all started very early on. And I think for us specifically as hockey players, as a very traditionally male-dominated sports, there's a resilience that comes with that, because from the youngest of ages, we were going against the grain, right? The less common path from the time I was 6 years old. It was like doing something that, maybe people question should be done. So there is this resiliency, I think, about our athletes, and I think female athletes in general, and that's been a big part of the journey.
I love that. Shannon?
I'll add on to that. Growing up as a competitive hockey player and looking up to Gina my whole life, I can definitely attest to that. And I use the analogy of hockey so much in my day-to-day when I talk to my team, when my co-founder Chris and I are talking. I'm constantly saying, right now we're raising investment, we're raising $2 million, but we're also trying to get new teams all the time. And you hear a lot of no's. You hear no's all the time. And I always say it's when you're playing hockey and you get knocked down, or any sport, but when you get knocked down, you don't just stay on the ice and cry about it. You get back up and you go score a goal. And I think that sports, growing up playing sports, really does instill that resiliency in you, in someone. We had to get through the pandemic. We didn't know how we were going to do that, but we managed to do that because we have that never say die attitude. Chris played pro hockey for 7 years as well. So both of us having that mentality is truly what I believe has helped us get Fan Saves this far, because a lot of people at this point might have given up already, but I just see it as all right, we're going to keep going and just keep putting one foot in front of the other. So definitely being an athlete is a big part of our success.
Jenny, you also have an incredible journey that I know has been broadcast on many, many international media outlets. I would love for you to share some of your.
Sure. Unlike some of the folks up there, I was not that great of an athlete. I played basketball with the dream of playing in the WNBA, but I just barely was good enough to maybe play a community college possibly. But I think that what actually was really great for my, I think that playing any team sport or any sport at all teaches you resiliency when it's when Shannon mentioned when you fall down, you have to get back up. It's just like when you lose a game. you lose a lot of games. And so you don't give up playing your sport after losing a game. So I think there's a bunch of studies out there that show 95% of the CEOs that are women for Fortune 500 companies played sports as kids. And so I think that says a lot about leadership qualities, playing as part of a team, figuring out people's weaknesses, including your own, and then, developing those, and then also magnifying your strengths for whatever those challenges may be. But I think all of those things, when it comes to sports, directly lines up with leadership skills, and also just being a great teammate. So like here at the BRA, I do a lot of things that a lot of folks are just like, geez, Jenny, you own the place, you don't have to do that. But it's just, you're part of the team. You're not only, a player, you're a coach, you're a friend, and sometimes, you got to be the ref. But yeah, I think that those things are really important. And also my lived experience has also helped me kind of shape the direction of the sports bra when it comes to inclusivity and representation. Because as a person of color, a queer person of color growing up in Portland, it's a whole, there's a lot of different dynamics around that. And I think that speaks to a lot of folks when they enter into a space like the sports bra.
It's incredible. Such an inspiration.
Yeah, I'll start with the sports angle, I guess. So I was a competitive boxer for about 10 years before it was an Olympic sport, so a long time ago. But there was about three women in the club back then, so sparred with men all the time. And then eventually, but I mean, I love what you said, resiliency, because everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. And that is true in business as well. So that was I felt like and because there wasn't a lot of women, I had to compete, and I won the provincial title in 3 different weight classes, and so that wasn't a good thing. But it's just what we had to do. And then I started in pro sports, went to the Ottawa Senators, and had to just put that dream aside. But it was instrumental in just my mindset. And from an entrepreneurial journey, I think, again, I was kind of late, a bit of late to the game, but I think there was a common thread in all of our stories. And it's, if it doesn't exist, just do it. But that was never told to me as a girl, like growing up. No one in my network ever talked about entrepreneur. There wasn't in my family, just, artsy, kind of more of an academic family. But it was when I was at the Senators that I saw, that this problem was going to come fast, and who's going to address it. And I just, said, why not me? And yeah, so a few years later, launched Differently. So, I mean, just say, why not me? And hopefully I'll be successful enough to own a team one day. You're inspiring me. You're inspiring. $1 million. That's doable, folks. I think we can have a consortium. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Stock.
And Diana, of course, you talked about wanting to have that next opportunity, creating a future job for yourself. Did you always know somewhere deep inside that you were going to become an entrepreneur? Was that sort of one of the visions that you had when you started playing and you were seeing the gaps in the sector?
No, it wasn't. And I think that's maybe similar to my soccer journey growing up in the eras we did. You didn't see soccer on TV. Soccer wasn't in the Olympics yet when I was a kid. There was no women's pro soccer. So I certainly didn't think soccer was going to be my career. It just kept opening doors for me. And only as I got older and older did I see it was a possibility and a dream. I think maybe true too with the entrepreneur thing. I think I was maybe doing it a bit the whole time, but didn't notice. I think similar, you run camps on the side, me and 3 teammates across Canada, and ran camps and gave speeches after 2012. I helped build the Players Association for the women's national team. So I think I was always doing things that were giving me skills for that, but I don't think I planned for it at all.
It's fascinating to listen to all the different journeys, and it really does reinforce that there's no one single path. Here at Invest Ottawa, as part of the strategy we've developed, we've really done a lot of consultations with our community about the gaps that exist, particularly for women and women from diverse communities. We know that there's a challenge with respect to investment. Only 2% of capital on this planet goes to solo-founded women businesses. Big problem, reason we created Shibu together with our friends at the Capital Angel Network, accessing mentors, networks, building up that opportunity, that confidence. There are so many opportunities to work together. What are some of the challenges that you've each overcome in your entrepreneurial journey as you're scaling your business that would be inspirational to future entrepreneurs that are with us here today?
I'll start that one. I think I'm pretty new on the journey. Like Project 8's been around, a year and a half, so pretty early days. I think one of the things though, as an athlete going into business, is we are really good at the thing we're doing for a long time, and then we're going into something new, and we're not as good at it, obviously, yet. And there's a lot more uncertainty and doubt there, and you're not used to not being as good at the thing. So I think that's something I think we all get used to, and when we're doing something new. And the best coach I ever had was John Herdman. He coached us in 2012. He coached the men to the Men's World Cup. He's now coaching Toronto FC, if anyone's a TFC fan here. And he always had, he called it the pit. Like if you're trying to go somewhere great, it's never easy to get there. It's always uncomfortable to get there, but there's always a learning curve where you're going to end up in a pit for a period of time when you're trying new things, because you're not going to be as good at them. And you just got to get through the pit and trust that the process is the right one, and you're going to get out the other side. So I think I found that coaching gem useful going through it.
I love that. Shannon?
I think, so FanSaves is a sports tech company, and Chris and I are both non-technical co-founders. Our background is marketing, and when we started, what our platform looks like now as a digital couponing platform, it always had, that was always the basis of what we were doing, but it looked completely different. Our MVP was horrible, and we talk about that a lot. And I talk to and mentor a lot of new founders, and they say, well, how do you do it? How do you start an app? How do you start a platform? And my answer is always just start. Like you just have to start. Just like when you start playing sports when you're little. When I started playing hockey, I sucked. I wasn't good. But then you get better. You keep practicing. You learn things along the way. And it's the same thing as in entrepreneurship. I had owned a business before, a marketing and events business, but never a tech company. And now oftentimes I'll be on a call talking tech and managing our product, and I catch myself. It's almost like an out of body experience. And I'm like, how do I know all these words and these terms? And oh my goodness, I'm on the technical side now. So if you don't start, you'll never get anywhere. So don't, let those fears of not knowing something prevent you from doing it. And really just go out there and keep learning and keep practicing and get better every day.
Courage is a unifying attribute of everyone who has been on the stage tonight. Do you observe that? Jenny, you have a business that absolutely must have been incredibly challenged during the pandemic. I certainly know all of our Main Street businesses here in Ottawa were. Tell us about some of the challenges that you've encountered scaling the sports bra here.
Yeah, so the sports bra is just about as old as Diana's Project 8. We just celebrated our 18 months. So I can't say anything about scaling, although I'm thinking a lot about it. But I think that what's funny is a couple things happened. I remember when I sat down my parents to tell them that about the sports bra, this idea that I had. The very first thing my dad said was, there's probably a reason it doesn't exist. And I think when he said that, there was nothing that they could say that could talk me out of it. But when he said that, I thought to myself, if we all believed that was true, we'd be in the cave rubbing two sticks together still, or maybe not even rubbing sticks together, because if fire didn't already exist, then it must not be a thing. But so that was one thing that kind of was a driving force. And then we opened during the pandemic, and what it was very difficult to find funding. Like you mentioned, less than 2% go to women entrepreneurs, and even less than that go to women of color. So after I was denied loan after loan after loan, it was a challenge to figure out how to get the doors open. But another part of my story is that I was able to, quote unquote, risk it all because I had a great parachute. And my parents, even though they didn't support the sports bra at all, they live in town. They have a basement. Mom would actually love it if I moved into the basement. So I thought to myself, what's the worst that could happen? Okay, I can put my entire life savings behind this. If it flops, I used to be a chef, so that was my career prior to the sports bra. I was a cook for about 15 years. And so worst goes to worst, I lose it all. I move in with my parents and I have skills that I can start from scratch. So to me, when I get started on a project, I think, what is the worst outcome there is? And can I live with that? And then I take that and I compare it with what's the best outcome, and is it worth it? And then just like, that was kind of my gauge. And so for all the entrepreneurs or future entrepreneurs in the audience, I would say, if you have something that you love and are passionate about, and you think about the risk that it takes, yes, it's scary. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, like I'm still scared to this day. But if you think the worst that can happen, can you live with that versus can you live with not doing it, or can you live with not trying it? And then can you imagine if it was successful and what that would feel like, and then go for it. But yeah, so there was a lot of challenges from like my parents' doubt to not really having a blueprint for what, a women's sports bar was going to be like. Although I just took like your idea of a sports bar and just made like tiny tweaks to everything basically. So there was kind of a lot in there, but those were some of my challenges, I would say.
I love it. I love it. And charting a new path, right? Boldly going and doing something, the tenacity, I just find so inspirational. Jana, I know that you've had quite the journey in terms of establishing the Professional Women's Hockey League. I would love to hear about some of the challenges you've overcome in that process.
Well, I think it aligns with the other stories. And the first thing that comes to mind is sort of blocking the doubters. Like Jenny just mentioned, we heard all kinds of things about women's hockey doesn't make any money. We already heard that one tonight. Why can't the women just get along? It's like, well, McDonald's and Burger King, they don't have to just get along and make a burger, right? TSN and Sportsnet, they don't have to just get along. They're competitors and they're striving to be the best. And that's what these women did. We talk about get along, and it was Canadian and American women who wanted more, who weren't willing to accept what existed out there. So lots of reasons why things can't happen. But if we stayed with that, of course, nothing would happen. As Jenny said, I think the other thing is sort of a little bit of the imposter syndrome, which I think Shannon was talking about, that, we come in and we don't have a women's league yet, and we're going to create one. And you're talking to people that have been in professional sport for years and years and at the highest level, and really believing that it's okay to do things a little differently. It's okay to have a new creative idea or something innovative to bring to the table. It doesn't have to mimic something that already exists. And that's actually a really great thing. So I think, trying to get yourself out of that imposter syndrome and feeling like you don't know enough or you're not as qualified as someone because they've done it longer. But there's some real positives to not having done that and to coming into situations with an open mind.
I love that. If you see her, you can be her. I really, truly do believe in the role model opportunity, and incredible role models on the stage. Isabel, what are some of the challenges that you've overcome?
I could build on so many things. I mean, they change every week. They really do. But I guess I'll just talk about the pivotal moment because I remember it like it was yesterday. I was in a really great position. I was leading a digital transformation practice, and it was one of the first in Canada, and I was making the most money I had ever made, and I was the most unhappy I had ever been. And I had 3 kids under 7 at that time, twins. So don't worry, I'm not that crazy. I didn't want, and I just approached my husband around dinner, and and I'm like, I think we could use more excitement, eh? What do you think? And our oldest one was 7, and the twins were 4 or something. And he said, sure. That was it. And I said, okay, you're not leaving the government ever. So goes to the parachute. And I did say, what's the worst that can happen? I've been in business for 20 years. I'll figure something out. And I think I think most entrepreneurs is freedom. I wanted the freedom. I wanted to, if there are 3 girls, if one of the girls is sick, I want to stay home. If I need a nap, I'm going to take a nap. But I'm also going to do it my way, and I'm going to fail my way. And that is both just like pit of your stomach pukey, scary, and at the same time fantastic, because you're either going to fail or you're going to lose, but it's going to be on your terms. And then you bring other people with you, which has been the most rewarding thing ever. And then working with organizations, and I don't know if the minister is still here, but we've been working with the Canadian Paralympic Committee as one of our main clients. So rewarding. Worked with Canada Soccer for years, and just so working with folks that you want to work with, that has been also extremely rewarding.
Incredible. We're going to open to audience questions shortly. We're going to do a little bit of a lightning round, leaders. So just jump in, and then we're going to turn it over to all of you. Can you describe the role that mentorship has played in your journey as an entrepreneur and even as an athlete? We're going to do really brisk answers as we get everyone thinking about questions. Mentorship.
Yeah, it's been huge. After Tom and I started Project 8, my first conversation was with Natalie Cook. She's a former VP at TSN and RDS, and a longtime mentor of mine. Her name's Leanne Nicole. She's fantastic. She used to run the COF and any number of things. She was the one who had said, "You're going after this thing, go talk to Natalie." And I've been very lucky. I've had a great, incredible group of women mentors and men along the way, but I think they fundamentally shaped what we're doing and who we're working with.
Incredible. What are you most proud of? Most important achievement in your journey as entrepreneurs to date? Shannon.
Oh my goodness. Just even being here today, I am always very grateful for every moment. And a lot of times when you're an entrepreneur, you can get caught up in the day-to-day. And I always say, celebrate the small moments, celebrate even the tiniest wins, because at the end of the day, when you look back, those are actually the big wins. And, something really cool that we just accomplished is we are part of the Comcast Sports Tech Accelerator, and we were one of 10 companies chosen out of 1,000 and the only Canadian company. And big shout out to Ambassador Cohen for putting a good word in for us to Comcast. But, when you talk about mentorship as well, David Cohen has been such a great mentor of ours and of mine and Chris's. We have one of our first advisors here, Patrick Charlton. And when you surround yourself with good people, Invest Ottawa, Sonia, it comes back to you. And now I'm proud to mentor as well.
I love that. What can we do to inspire more women leaders like you to pursue entrepreneurial journeys in the sports sector? Jenny looks like she wants to jump in there.
I can take this one. I feel like when we watch sports or when we participate in sports, if we think about what it is that we love the most about it, like what makes our heart like palpitate, what makes us excited, what makes us jump up and down and scream, what makes us want to drive 4 hours to go and stand in line in the rain and watch a game, and then think about those things and try to create those moments yourself. And like, what is missing? What do you want more of? And then go out and make that, because you're not the only one that is craving those things. There's gonna be other fans that maybe haven't experienced that feeling because they haven't had the opportunity to. But if you create those experiences, that's something that people will pay, out the nose for. So I think that is one aspect, is like, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Just think about what was the best experience you've ever had, either live or as an athlete or whatever it is, and how can you invest in that, or how can you create more of that opportunity for others? I think that would be like my biggest driver.
Chase joy. That's what I just heard you say. Chase joy in everything you do. I love that. What would you tell your younger self, Gina?
I think what I tell my younger self, to continue to follow your passion and stand up for what you believe in. And I remember, in some of the darker days of our Players Association, where there was lots of challenging times where people were telling, us why it wouldn't work, and telling players they should just be happy and go play in another league that existed. And, you have these moments of, is this actually going to happen? And is it going to work? I remember a good friend of mine, Cassie Campbell, who also happens to be maybe the most well-respected women's hockey player in the world, or certainly in Canada. And she said, if you can sleep well at night because you are doing something you believe in, that's all you need to do. And it just resonated with me because I have 3 young kids right now. And to me, I want them to see in me is that I wake up every day, I work really hard about something I really care about. And if I can say that at the end of the day, or they can say that at the end of the day, then I'm incredibly happy. So I think it's just, knowing what your values are, sticking to them, and standing up for what you believe in.
I love that. Building a values-based business. I love that. We talk a lot about work-life harmony, work-life balance, work-life integration. Isabel, I'm coming to you because you just mentioned that you are also a mother as well as an entrepreneur and a leader in our community. How are you approaching that?
Oh my God. So I have a real aversion to the word balance.
I know.
I don't believe it exists. I really don't.
Harmony.
And I think it puts a lot of pressure on us. So yeah, I'm a board of a foundation chair. I've got the 3 girls. They're right in the prime. They're playing the twins are playing competitive soccer. They wanted to be here tonight. And I said, no, you have a practice. So I look at it as a dashboard. Let's look at it. I love business, by the way. I love the business of business. And I really look at it as a dashboard. And every day, every week, there's going to be something in the red. There's going to be something that's not particularly equal, but I'll make it up. Like I haven't missed a soccer game ever. Like, because I love it. And to your point, I'm the happiest when I'm watching because it's like, I'm not thinking about anything, but I love seeing them play and they love it. And so I won't miss that. But last night I was working really late and, my oldest came and knocked on the door and, bonne nuit, maman. And I was like, and I said, okay, bonne nuit. And I kept working and I realized after, and I felt so guilty after because I was like, oh, I wasn't in the moment. But you know what? I let it go because they are seeing me do something that it's not work. Like, I don't feel like it's work. I love what I do. And then that's what I tell them, right? Like, you're going to see some days where I might not be fully there, but man, I'm building something awesome. Like, and so that's why I don't like balance. I think let's not put too much pressure on ourselves. Like, it's just, we're doing our best,
We call it harmony here at Invest Ottawa, and it's a journey, and it's a multi-step journey, a never-ending one. We're going to turn this over to you now. We've got time for a couple of questions before we wrap up our panel and invite you all to network and meet these amazing leaders. Any questions? I know that Audrey is watching Hoppin', so if you're joining us virtually, we certainly have the ability to receive questions there. And here in our audience, we have a runner who will bring a microphone to you. Oh, I see some hands raised. Excellent. Here we go. We'll start to the left, and we're coming to you on the right.
Hi, my name is Marika. I'm the VP of the Ottawa Blackjacks, Ottawa's professional basketball team, and very inspired by all of you. Thank you so much. My question would be, how can a men's professional league or team can really support women's sports? And I think, with the addition of the Pro Hockey League in Ottawa, we're super excited to share the same venue. And yeah, I think just to kind of have, obviously it's something I care about a lot. I played basketball my whole life. Women's sports, super important. And it's a topic that, I think about every day, like how can the Ottawa Blackjacks really impact the hockey team, impact other teams as we grow at the same time pretty much. So I would like to hear a little bit from you about that.
I think there's a lot of ways. I think there's, obviously cross-promotional opportunities. You're sharing a venue, you're promoting one another, you're building a community of something that people are going to care about. So I think those relationships are great. Obviously, we've seen what the WNBA and the NBA have done, and it's been really meaningful to see the male players support the female players and vice versa. And again, I think we're creating this community of people who love sports, and it doesn't have to be male. It doesn't have to be female. It's about entertainment value. And I think there's great ways to be in the community together and really just show that relationship is growing sport. It's developing the next generation of leaders, male or female. So I would love to see a lot of collaboration in that sense between the teams.
I love that. I think you're seeing it perhaps in the soccer world as well a little bit, correct, Diana?
Yeah, and I think there's women's pro sport being so new. There's there's not decades of data about who women's sports fans are. There's more than they used to be. And one of the, the most data is finding that predominantly it's other sport fans. And that I think it's something like 85% of people that are interested in sport, period, are interested in women's sports. So you would assume there's a big crossover between your fans and folks that might want to go check out another sport. So I think the fan base and cross promotion is huge. Players are also influencers. We know this too. So definitely get some of your players out to the game and get them on the socials. And yeah.
Excellent. Lots of marketing. I know we have another question on the right-hand side. Here we go. We've got a couple over here. Love to see this. Microphone coming to you.
Thank you. Really inspirational fireside discussion. Thank you for sharing your stories. So I have two questions. So the first one is, do you have any lessons that you've taken from playing sports that have helped you along your journey in entrepreneurship? Especially for Jenny, you mentioned that I think one of your parents said that there's a reason why like your business didn't exist. So and the second question is, so I'm the youngest in my family, and I have a sister who has a pretty stellar career in finance. And because I'm the youngest, so it's really rare for me to kind of receive compliments from my sister when she said that, oh, the book that you gave me. So I gave her the book called Lean In from Sheryl Sandberg. And she was like, that helped me a lot in terms of like salary negotiation and career trajectory. So do you have any other like resources that I could share with my sister, just so that I can get her to take more risk, maybe consider entrepreneurship and stuff like that?
Jenny, over to you.
Wow, I'm going to need the first question again because I forgot what it was already.
Yeah. So are there any lessons that you've taken from sports that have helped you during like dips or like times that things aren't going right?
I think there's so many things, like how to lose, how to be a gracious loser. I think, I was always really into good sportsmanship when I was an athlete, because our team, I played basketball my whole life, and in high school we had the worst team in the district. And so we lost, I think we only won one game, like my entire senior year. But to me, the biggest thing was giving it your all. And I think that is probably one of the things that I take with me on this journey with the business, is that, people will read or see all about all the great things that the bra has accomplished, and it has. But every day there's like 1,000 things that go wrong. And I try to be as transparent as I can about navigating, making mistakes, and like letting people know that that's totally fine. And that's the only way to really like learn and like kind of, blindly walk your way through whatever journey every single different person is on. So I think that sports has really taught me that. Another thing that I think sports has taught me that I tried to create in this space at the Sports Bra is that when I was little, I knew right away that I was gay. And I had a really hard time talking about it, or, clearly I didn't want to. I didn't come out until I was 17. And then not only that, but I grew up really poor, and my parents worked about 5.5 jobs between the two of them to send me to a private school. And so things like my parents would drop me off, blocks away from the school so that nobody could see the beater that my dad drove. So there was all of these things that I kind of internalized as far as like not having money, being a person of color, and then just being very different from the people around me. But the moment I stepped out onto a basketball court, all of those things disappeared. And having a place where you feel like you belong wholly and nobody's going to judge you, that is really important to me. And so when I built out the Sports Bra, I wanted to create a place that was literally for me. But it turns out, that because of the intersectionality of who I am, it ended up being a place for a lot of different people. So I think that sports has really been, just a dramatic backbone for my identity.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I cannot wait to come and visit the Sports Bra in Portland. I have not been to Portland yet, and all of us are coming, so get ready.
Come on over.
You are a role model and just incredible story. We have time for one more question before I ask all of these leaders and founders to share one actionable insight and takeaway for all of you to support women in business in this sector. One more question.
Hi. Early on in the discussion today, I think that you were talking about access to broadcasting for women's sports. So my question is around that. I apologize, I don't play team sports, but I absolutely love watching women's World Cup alpine skiing. And over the last few years, I've tried to watch, all the races. I want to watch every one of them, and including the Olympics, actually, which I was pretty surprised. Even on CBC, they weren't showing the women's races. So I'd get all excited. I'd see the skiing was going to be on, and I'd wait, and I'd go online that night to watch, and it'd be like, only the men's race. Where's the women's race? So I was just wondering, do you have any thoughts on, is that something you guys are working on or something you struggle with? Do you have any recommendations on how, all of us can help to influence that? Because I even contacted Rogers one night. I was irate that this race was not on. I wanted to see Lindsey Vonn in her last race. It's like, where is the race for women? And they're like, it's not on. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on how can we change the whole association with not broadcasting women's races when they really both should be on.
I have so many thoughts on that, but I'm going to turn that on its head a little bit. And I love what you said about that. It's so ripe. Like this pro women's sports is still nascent. It's a nascent market, but the industry is mature. It's a mature industry. So what do you do in that case? And I think that's why I love this discussion, because there's so much opportunity to completely rethink the business model. And part of that business model is the dependence on broadcast. Screw it. Like if they're not going to broadcast it, I think the beauty of women's sports, what they have done really well is they have done other things. Like I love basketball, but I discovered through TikTok, like the videos on now, I'm just like hooked on it. And I think women's athletes have done that really well, is to take create over the top content, we call it, to circumvent that. But I think there's such an opportunity to reinvent it, because the men's industry is actually kind of stagnating. So why do we want to, not all, but I mean, broadcast is going down, and why do we want to model it? Let's reinvent it. There's an opportunity to completely change the business model, take advantage of new content on new channels. We should talk. There's a lot of ideas on this case, but anyways, that's, it's just one perspective. Obviously, a lot of revenues is built on the big games, but I think there's so much more opportunity on other channels and to circumvent that until they show up.
My wife works for CBC Sports, so I'm going to ask her why it wasn't on.
Hear, hear.
Because CBC actually has equity mandates too, so I wonder, there was maybe no Canadians in it. They make bad choices sometimes. Seriously. But I'll ask my wife. For us, the way we've been approaching it we wanted to optimize two things when it came to who our media partner is. One, we wanted to get it on as many screens as possible. So we know it's a product that is new, is growing. Women's football attracts new fans to the sport. Wherever we go, the diehard women's football fans are going to find us. But we need a bigger audience than that. So we have to get in front of as many Canadian eyeballs as possible. So we have to go to where Canadian eyeballs are. The other one we want to optimize is the actual production quality, because women's sport has suffered from poor production quality from lack of investment. So we're actually going to invest upwards of $3 to $4 million ourselves, because our media industry is a duopoly owned by telecoms who are laying off tons of people every day, don't have a huge budget, nor does our national broadcasters. So we're going to have to actually invest in our own production. For us, we think a good mix is hopefully a game of the week on something traditional with as many eyeballs as possible. And then a streaming service showing the remainder of the games, all free to air. Because the tricky part too is with traditional broadcasts, all the sponsors who are using sponsor valuation companies tie all their sponsor valuations to traditional men's sport metrics. Exactly. So then you're in like this chicken of the egg, but we want to get hedge our bets, get it on where the eyeballs are now, which is probably traditional linear, but go streaming, and definitely 5 years from now, I don't think there's going to be anyone on linear, but we got to probably be there to start and have a mix.
And I would just quickly add to that. I think what's really important is people have to know where to find it. Women's sports fans are super loyal and they will do what they need to, but we can't make it hard for people to find us. They shouldn't have to dig to find out where the game's going to be tonight and how they watch it. It's got to be readily accessible to them. And that's something we talk about a lot is we have to get it out there. Like Diana said, it has to be on as many screens as possible, but it has to be easy for people to find if we're trying to grow that fan base.
And when we go to Portland, we're going to come to the Sports Bra because it plays women's sports every single day, which I absolutely love. Okay.
Can I add to you? Because you asked what can we do to help? I think you're going to see where it is because we're going to make it super easy for you to know where the games are and then turn it on and tell your friends. Because again, the traditional metrics for valuing all the sponsorship deals we're getting are going to be tied pretty heavily to how many eyeballs we can get on our product in the first 3 years. We're going to have some leeway here to grow the thing, but we got to grow it fast and actually have attendance numbers and viewership numbers. So put on 3 of your screens, tell your friends to do the same. It'll go a long way. Billie
You're at a
Jean
bar, tell them
if
to
you're
put
at a
it on.
bar or just go to the Sports Bra. Yeah.
Okay, we're on the takeaways as we bring this home. So one key takeaway, we just got Diana's on how you can help build women business in sport. Jump in. Shannon, what can we do to help?
I think it's so important to use our voices and speak about it and share our stories and share our experiences. And, growing up, I was pretty shy. I was always like one of the guys, and I never wanted to raise my voice or say anything, and now I'm still often one of the only women in the room when I go to a league meeting or I go to an event. And I always say it's really funny because you go to a conference and the women's bathrooms are always empty. And I always say we need to get more women in the bathrooms because anywhere else it's totally different. So I think not even just if you're a woman, but if you're a man, a shout out to Chris, who's such an ally and always pumps me up and is always putting me first and putting the spotlight on me because he knows how important it is for a woman CEO in sports tech to be heard and to have a voice. So, and it can be hard when you start and just to put yourself out there at first, but it does get easier. And the more voices that are, joined together, rising up, the louder we'll be.
Critical mass is so important. Jana.
I think, promo for us, come to the game, obviously come to the games, but don't just think you have to bring your daughter. Bring your son, bring your friends, bring your parents. This is for everyone. And I think, seeing in my own kids what sport does for them. My oldest is 10 now. She's a soccer player. And her confidence is so much better because of that, because she plays sports, because she has teammates, because she has fun. She's not the best athlete out there, but it's given her something that is so important. So I think just instilling that for everyone, chase your joy, like Jenny said. I think we're going to be able to provide some entertainment for people. It's going to be fun. We're going to be an inclusive environment, and we're just going to create a really great community to be a part of. And so hope everyone comes out to support it.
Ottawa, you heard it. Canada, US, we need to support this league. Jenny, what can we do?
Oh my gosh, I feel like we've touched on so many things today. And I think for me, my biggest thing is to just go out and don't be afraid to fail. I think growing up, I feel like I just got used to being bad at things and just being like, okay, well, I gave it a shot. And so I think fear is a huge barrier for folks. Fear of failure. And so once you get over that fear, just think sky's the limit. So I think that for everyone out there who is thinking about doing something, taking it to the next level or taking the next step, quitting their job, doing something different, step into the fear. It's going to be fine. And then as far as investing in women's sports, oh my gosh, yes, buy a ticket, go to those things, stream that stuff, put your eyes on it. And literally at the Sports Bra, if somebody wants us to play something, I will go out and I will ask for permission to play it. They'll give me permission and we'll put it up on the TVs. And at least, we had rock climbing on yesterday, and there was probably like 30 people who were just like so enthralled with the rock climbing because they don't ever see it on TV. And they were just like, how do these women even do that? And I'm like, I don't know. I just put it on TV.
I absolutely love it. I love it. Isabel, you get the final word, the call to action for everyone here and online.
I don't know how I can top that. I think so what I was thinking about is I went to the Sens opener on the weekend, and I went early, turned the Team 1200 on, and I heard two women talking about soccer. I had never heard women on Team 1200 before, and it wasn't the hockey broadcast wasn't on before. But what hit me was, and I think it's so important to know that it's different. Like it's okay to emulate. We're not emulating men's sport. It was a different conversation. It's okay to say that, right? Like it was just as competitive, but what they were talking about, there was just a different vibe. I really enjoyed it. I'm super competitive, so I love, but it was just I really realized it is different. And that is the point. That's the point of, so I would say the call to action is you have to be very deliberate about including women because we are going to have a different viewpoint, and that's okay. We're not supposed to be the same. Like we're going to bring different, all of us, in all diversity and inclusion, we're going to bring a different viewpoint. So I'd say be very deliberate about that because it's a whole ecosystem that needs to be built. All of the ecosystem around the sports industry for women needs to be built up. So just be deliberate about including them.
What a great way to conclude this panel discussion. Please give these amazing leaders and founders a round of applause.
I just want to say thank you to all of you and Sonia for leading that discussion. It's been a terrific evening. I hope everyone here has enjoyed the conversations that we've had. Yes? And that you're inspired. I want to thank all of you for the actionable items too, and to commit for all of us that we're going to continue to follow up on those. So on behalf of the Ottawa Board of Trade, Invest Ottawa, and the U.S. Embassy, I want to thank all of you for being here. To all of our guests and our distinguished guests, merci, bonsoir.